What's good, everyone? It's your boy Nati again. Welcome back to the channel. And finally, right, we're gonna be talking about that team on the wall. So, without further ado, let's go.
Yeah, I know myself far too well to be a stranger of pain. Despite it all, we remaining the same. I'm just changing the game. Heart pure, never tainted with fame. Straight ahead, I'ma stay in my lane. Never switching courses. Life's amazing. Shit is gorgeous.
The state of the Washington Nationals, right? I would be remiss if I didn't talk about, everything that went on last season. The World Series run that we ultimately ended up having. It was a trying season, right, up until May 24th. As many of you are probably aware, we were 19-31. Our team was ravished by injuries. We had a sorry bullpen up until that point, except for Sean Doolittle. And with the injuries like Trey Turner, Juan Soto, Ryan Zimmerman, Anthony Rendon, all suffered stints on the injured list. But Davey Martinez, our great manager, at that point on May 24th, pretty much told reporters that all hope wasn't lost. He still had faith in the team, and he thought that once the Stars returned, the Nats would rebound. And rebound they did. They made it all the way to the World Series, right? And the Nats became the best team in baseball from May 24th onwards. They carried momentum throughout the regular season, and I was actually there for one of the last Phillies games towards the end of the regular season, and I got to firsthand experience that exuberance, that awesome atmosphere at Nats Park. And I knew going into the game that, this season was something special, and this Nats team, well, I didn't think, they would make the World Series, right? I thought they would be something special, and special they were. And that momentum obviously carried into the playoffs, right? We played the Brewers in the wild card round. Juan Soto with that clutch single that scored 3 runs and put us on top against the Brewers, and he basically hit that single off of, the once unstoppable Josh Hader, right? The closer for the Brewers, and that was an amazing moment. And then, in the series afterwards, we played against the Dodgers, the 106 win on Dodgers, arguably the best team in all of baseball. I was super worried, right? They were that good. Like, a lot of doubters said that, we weren't going to win. We didn't stand a chance against them. But Howie Kendrick with arguably the clutchest hit in Nationals history with that grand slam in extra innings was just insane. And I remember that moment, and he truly became a Nats legend off of that one hit alone. And then afterwards, obviously, we had the sweep of the Cardinals, the great pitching performances that we had throughout the series. We had 2 near no-hitters from Max Scherzer and Anibal Sanchez, and it was just a great series, and we sweep the team, right, in the NLCS. And then we had the crazy series, obviously, against the Astros in the World Series, and we beat them in 7 games. It was a pretty up-and-down series, though. I think it was the away team in every single game that won the game, and we lost 3 games here in DC, and we obviously won 4 games in Houston, and it was just a great series. And we, on top of winning the World Series for the first time in franchise history, we prevented the cheater Astros from winning another championship. So it's just a great moment, and the run that we had was truly amazing, and something as well as many of you Nats fans will never forget, and something that will definitely carry over into this season, right? So while riding the high of an amazing championship run, we were immediately confronted with the impending free agencies of Anthony Rendon and Steven Strasburg, 2 pivotal players on our team. And unfortunately, Rendon left for the Angels, but we re-signed Steven Strasburg, right? The World Series MVP, and I like that we kept the strength of the team intact, right? Like, our starting pitching rotation was the strength of the team. It carried us to a lot of wins last year, especially during the postseason. Rendon leaving is a truly big loss. We can't really replace him in the lineup. He provided us with MVP level production throughout the regular season and the postseason, and we have someone unproven like Carter Kieboom who looks to replace him, and I'll talk about him a little bit later, but no one can really replace Anthony Rendon in the lineup. And then Daniel Hudson was also retained, the guy who was also clutch in the World Series and had that last out for us as the reliever for us. And we signed Will Harris from the Astros And I think those two players will help strengthen our bullpen a lot alongside Sean Doolittle. At least the top of our bullpen looks pretty solid, and I'll talk a little bit more about the entire group later on. In addition to those moves, we signed powerful batter Eric Thames from the Brewers, who had a pretty solid season last year and looks to be pretty good in our infield. We also signed Starlin Castro as well. So both players look to provide us with good production in the infield and also in our lineup. And of course, we re-signed Nats legend Howie Kendrick, who, while getting up there in age, looks to still be a pretty good piece for us this upcoming season. And with the current roster, so at catcher, Kurt Suzuki and Yan Gomes look to man the spot. Kurt Suzuki likely being the starter. And he played pretty admirably at catcher for us last year, right? He had a lot of clutch hits for us throughout the regular season. The one against the Mets, right, with that huge comeback, appears to be like the clutchest or the craziest of them all. And he had 17 home runs, provided us with pretty good offensive firepower in the lineup, which is a pretty solid catcher for us last year and looks to be one this year as well. And then Yan Gomes, who appears to be a solid backup catcher for us. Although I am kind of worried if he gets thrust into the starting lineup, if Kurt Suzuki ever gets injured, because Yan Gomes last year, we signed him right in the offseason and we thought he would give us more offensive firepower, and he didn't really. He batted at .223 average and wasn't really good for us offensively. Had an up and down regular season, but as a backup catcher, he looks to be pretty solid for us, and hopefully he'll have a bounce back season this year. And then at first base, we look to have a platoon with Eric Thames, who we signed from the Brewers, Howie Kendrick, Nats legend now, right? And then Mr. National himself, Ryan Zimmerman. Thames appears to be a solid pickup from the Brewers. He hit 25 home runs last year, hit about a .250 batting average, and he'll hopefully carry that over with us in the infield. We'll see. And then you also have Howie Kendrick, again, the Nats playoff legend, who looks to continue being that reliable professional hitter that Davey Martinez called him early in the season. And obviously he had all those clutch hits during the postseason. So he could even play like designated hitter for us, because the NL looks to go that way with talks going on about the DH coming to the NL and stuff. So he could be a pretty good designated hitter for us. So I look forward to that. And then Mr. National, Ryan Zimmerman, provides us with a ton of veteran leadership and was pretty reliable at first base for us during the regular season and during the postseason, despite the injuries that he faced. So I think those three players will provide a pretty good platoon for us at first base, even while all three are definitely getting up there in age. And then at second base, we have Starlin Castro likely manning the spot for us, and he's replacing veteran Brian Dozier, who had a pretty solid year for us last year. And more than that, he was a great presence in the locker room. He was definitely an energetic guy, definitely a fun guy to be around for all the players. And it was pretty entertaining during the postseason and after the World Series and stuff. But Castro does appear to be serviceable. He had 22 home runs last year, batted a .270 average. So I look forward to him being a pretty solid piece at our second base position, and don't look too much of a drop off at the position from last year. And then we have young stud Trey Turner at our shortstop position, right? He had a great season last year. He had a broken finger too, and missed a lot of games. Like I mentioned earlier, he was on the injury list early in the season, but he played through the injury even like during the postseason. Like you saw him when he stepped up to the plate, his forefinger wasn't on the bat at times, and he played through the injury and he still hit a lot of home runs, had a lot of clutch hits, and I look forward to him just continuing to ascend, as the young stud that he is on our team. And he'll also be up for a contract soon, not this upcoming offseason, but pretty soon. So I think Trey Turner will just continue to produce, man, and he's just a really good young player for us, and a really good young player in all of baseball, honestly. And then at third base, we have 22-year-old Corey Kieboom, who looks to man that spot and sort of maybe replace Anthony Rendon at third. And again, Anthony Rendon's MVP level production at third can't be replaced, right, in the lineup. Like, he was just way too good for us last year during the regular season, and of course during the postseason with clutch hit after clutch hit after clutch hit. A clutch home run during the Game 7 as well. of the Astros series. And also, Kieboom played most of his reps last year at shortstop, so it should be pretty interesting to see him play more at third base. But if he's not ready, right, at this point, he is only 22 years old. He doesn't have too many reps under his belt. Davey Martinez did say that Asdrubal Cabrera could take some third base reps for him, and Cabrera was pretty solid for us at second base and in the infield in general last year. So maybe he could do a solid job for us at third. We'll see. But Carter Kieboom is definitely the future at that position. So hopefully he steps up and really takes a hold of that position this year at third base. And moving on to the outfield, we have Juan Soto, Victor Robles, and Adam Ian, who look to man the left field, center field, and right field spots respectively. Juan Young Goat Soto is of course the headliner in that group. He had an MVP level season last year, but I think it was particularly during the postseason where he really showed out and really showed that he was one of the best young stars in all of baseball, and not just on the Nationals team. And I mean, he'll only continue to ascend, and he might even become NL MVP sooner rather than later. So I look forward to that. I mean, I'm repping him on the back, and man, he's a great player, and he's only 21 years old, man. Like, and then we have Victor Robles again at the center field position, and he did have a relatively down year last year, hitting wise, but he definitely showed his defensive prowess in the outfield, and is super young as well, and I think he'll also continue to ascend. And he was just he's a great young piece for us, and will probably man that center field spot for years to come. So I look forward to solid production out of him this year. And then Adam Ian, who, oh my gosh, another clutch batter during the World Series run, looks to man the right field position again. And a couple years ago, I was even early on last season, I was kind of questioning, and I'm sure many of you Nats fans were also questioning that trade that we had a couple years back, where we traded Lucas Giolito and a couple other young players for Adam Ian from the White Sox. And I was questioning that trade, but man, during the postseason, bro, he showed out. And I think that left field, center field, right field combination with Soto, Robles, and Ian is pretty solid, and will probably only improve, especially with Soto and Robles being so young. And then Michael A. Taylor looks to be a pretty serviceable backup for us, and he did hit somewhat during the postseason run. So, and he's hit at spots during the last couple of years. So I think he's a pretty serviceable backup, and I think our outfield group is pretty solid overall, much like some of the other groups on our team. And now with the starting pitchers, man, this is the group that carried us to a lot of wins last year, especially during the postseason. And I mean, we got 3-time Cy Young Award winner Max Scherzer as our probably number one pitcher, right? And then we also have World Series MVP Steven Strasburg. We have Patrick Corbin as well, we picked up last offseason from the Diamondbacks. We also have Anibal Sanchez and probably Joe Ross as our fifth pitcher. I mean, what more has to be said about this group that you guys don't already know, right? Especially with the top of the group, the three aces, Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin, they likely could be number one starting pitchers on any other team if it were not for the Nationals. And we also have a really capable fourth pitcher in Anibal Sanchez, who, especially during the Cardinals series, showed how good he was. He had a near no-hitter. And I mean, he was just pretty solid for us throughout the regular season as well. And again, very capable fourth pitcher. And then at the fifth pitcher spot, Joe Ross, who had a spot start during the World Series with Max Scherzer going down with that neck injury, had a pretty solid outing for us, and has been kind of solid, but also has been dealing with injuries over the last couple of years. So I do look forward to him kind of manning that fifth pitcher role. And if he's not ready, or if he gets injured again, then Austin Voth or Eric Fetty could also be that fifth pitcher for us. But I think, man, this group will be the biggest contributor to a lot of wins this year as well, and just the biggest contributor to the Nats' success overall, because it's just that good. We have one of the best pitching trios in all of Major League Baseball, if not the best. And I think it'll just be a really good group for us once again. And then our reliever group, Sean Doolittle appears to be the closer this year, And we also have 2 strong relievers once again, and Daniel Hudson and Will Harris, the latter of which who we picked up from the Astros. And on top of those 3, we also have Tanner Rainey and Wander Suero, who were actually pretty good during the postseason for us to kind of like back those first 3 relievers up. And the relievers were just not good during the regular season, right? Like, they had a pitching ERA of 5.66, which was the worst in all of baseball. But during the postseason, like, we just have to admit it, right? Like, they stepped up big time. And I get it that, like, you know, Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, and especially Patrick Corbin sort of became relievers at certain points during the postseason. I get that. At the same time, Doolittle and Hudson were really clutch for us. And I think the addition of Harris will only sort of round out this group, and at least the top of the group will be pretty solid for us. But I am worried, as many of you Nats fans have been worried over the last couple of years, about the depth of this group and beyond the first 3 pitchers. But I do think Mike Rizzo will work his magic once again, and during the mid-season mark, we'll trade for a reliever or 2 to kind of round out that group even more. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the relievers group. So the state of the Washington Nationals as a whole, I mean, it's as strong as it ever could be. Like, we just came off an amazing, magical World Series run, and we brought back most of our team. And how many times can you say in all professional sports have championship teams in general brought back most of their teams? Like, those teams our organizations are very few and far in between, and I think it's amazing that we brought back most of our team. But, you know, with the biggest exception, obviously, being Anthony Rendon. And again, I don't think we'll totally replace his offensive firepower in our lineup, but I think our improved reliever group, as well as, you know, the elite pitching rotation still being a thing in Washington, and the progression of superstar Juan Soto and stud Trey Turner, I think all those contributors will lead to the Nats winning a lot of games this year and being pretty successful overall. And not to forget, we also have Davey Martinez as a great young manager for our team in all of Major League Baseball. And, you know, despite several obstacles last year, despite calls for him to get fired early in the season after the 19-31 start, and despite his heart procedure later on in the season and all the health issues that he had, he stuck with this team, man. He provided a lot of great leadership for this team that, you know, was lacking over the last couple of years out of the manager role. And again, he never lost faith in the team, and he was a huge contributor to the Nats' success last year throughout the second half of the regular season, also during the postseason as well. So I think the Nats will win a lot of games purely off of him as well. But by somewhat taking into account the typical regression that teams face after winning the World Series, I don't think the Nats will win as many games as they did last year, but I think they'll win between 87 and 90 games if we were to have a full season, right? But, you know, with a full 162-game season likely not going to happen with the whole labor dispute between the MLB and the MLB Players Union. I don't know what's going on there, man, but with that going on, I don't think we'll have that 162-game regular season. But regardless, I think the Nats will be very good this year once again, and I don't see them winning the World Series again, but I see them as being a pretty good team and making the playoffs, hopefully, and giving, you know, DC sports fans another team to cheer about. That's all I got for my State of the Washington Nationals video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and yeah, we look to have a pretty busy week with uploading videos this week, and hope you guys just make sure to look out for those as well, and please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. It would be greatly appreciated. It's a very small channel, and hope to build that sort of community again with all the DMV sports fans in the region. So thank you guys very much, and have a great week.
Just looking at the bigger picture portrait and I smile wide. Performed a song and the crowd cried. How can I lie? I'm tearing up as I'm starting to stare in y'all eyes. I know the shit you going through the last month. You're stressing as you hitting on that.